A well-built internship program is the best hiring audition that has ever existed.
Welcome to Leaders of the West, a podcast for innovators and changemakers. I'm your host, Jessie Jarvis, the founder of the West, and I'm sitting down with agriculturalists, entrepreneurs, executives, and everyone in between with the goal of digging into the strategies, mindsets, and lessons that have been crucial to the success of ag and Western. Whether you're carrying on the next generation of your family's operation, starting something from scratch, or determined to climb up the leadership ladder, we're going to inspire you to continue to dream big, growing not just you, but the future of agriculture and Western as a whole. Let's go.
Welcome back, you guys, to one of our last solo episodes for the summer. I say that there's still going to be some solo episodes over in the month of August, but as you are probably aware by now, for the month of June and July, we have only had solo episodes, which I have really enjoyed because I feel like I've gotten to branch out a little bit more from our traditional episodes, which was one of the reasons that I wanted to do this summer of solo episodes as it is. But it's hard to believe that we are already towards the end of July. For many of you, especially if you are in those southern states, like I know I have some friends in Arizona and their kids go back to school the very first week of August, some of them even in the end of July. So it is absolutely wild to me that we are literally less than a month away from school starting for most of us, which part of me is so sad about. And the other part of me is a little bit excited about because mama needs her routine, if you know what I mean. Anybody who works from home, I'm sure you can totally relate to that. This is also one of those situations where I totally wish that I could see you guys as I spoke to you because I want to know, would you consider yourself to be an early bird or are you somebody who is a night owl? I have always been an early bird from literally the beginning. I remember when I was a kid, I would wake up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning. My parents, they didn't sleep in by any means, but they weren't waking up at 5:30 or 6. They were probably a little bit closer to 6:30. I would go make myself a bowl of cereal. I can't tell you how much sugar I put on that bowl of cereal, like a disgusting amount. And I would go turn on whatever little PBS kids show there was at the time, because at this time, we did not have Dish. We did not have DirecTV. We had one of those TV antennas outside. Were like kind of like bunny ears to a degree, but you could only get those local channels. And I also remember that anytime there was a windstorm, that would then move that antenna and you would have to go out with a pipe wrench and change it. How is this real life? Like my kids have no idea whenever they say, hey, pause the show so I can go to the bathroom. I don't want to miss anything. Like that was not an option when I was a kid. But yes, you would walk outside, you'd have the door open, and somebody would go out and turn this little pipe wrench to readjust the antenna. And somebody on the inside would be yelling, yes, like the picture is getting clearer, or no, you're making it worse. It's getting more fuzzy. So PBS was a staple in my house, mainly because that was the only channel that I had access to that had cartoons on. But I was totally the girl who would wake up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning with my bowl of cereal and I would go watch PBS. But that has definitely not changed, which is the setting for today's story. It's been a couple of months ago. I'm going to say the very beginning of May and probably 4 a.m., which if you know me, this is not unusual. This is when I do my best work because the house is quiet. My coffee is very hot. My brain is actually firing on all cylinders. And that's partly because the rest of the world is still asleep for the most part. But apparently I am not alone in that because at 4 a.m. that morning, I got a notification that a friend of mine had posted a job on Of the West. And not just any job, she was hiring for a position that I knew that they had filled before. So I did what any good friend does at 4 in the morning. I texted her and I was like, hey, what's going on? Why are you hiring for this role again? And almost instantly, that little iPhone bubble with 3 little dots that she was typing me right back. And the text response that she sent said something to the effect of, they lost 4 seasonal employees to internship programs that summer, and they were scrambling because they had anticipated that these kids would come back at the end of May, beginning of June, but for the majority of them, they needed a college internship to graduate. These were paid internships. So they took those opportunities instead of coming back as a seasonal employee. Now, I want you guys to think about that. If you are a business and you've lost 4 people in the matter of weeks, and these are temporary people, so chances are you were really counting on them to return. You didn't lose them to a competitor. You didn't necessarily lose them to a better paying job down the road, but to an internship program, which if you have ever tried to hire seasonal help in agriculture, you know that 4 people is not a small number by any means. That ends up being kind of a problem. So I texted her back and I told her, well, it sounds like you need to build an internship program. And again, almost instantly, those 3 little dots started and she said, how do we even do that? And I told her, well, we can help you with that. And that, my friends, is how Of the West ended up building an internship program for a seed company from scratch. And today I want to walk you through what that looked like and why it matters and why I think that this is a conversation that a lot more agriculture and Western businesses really need to be having right now. Here is the thing. In my friend's situation, that's not unique. Not even a little bit. Every summer, businesses across the country, seed companies, ranches, feedlots, equipment dealers, custom applicators, you name it, they lose seasonal workers, typically college kids, to internship programs. And every summer, those same businesses scramble to backfill those positions that they thought were initially filled. And naturally, the instinct is pretty dang understandable that you would be frustrated by that, right? You feel like you're fighting a losing battle for the same small pool of hardworking young people who want to spend their summer actually doing something, not sitting in a classroom, especially for those roles, like in this case, a seed company that is very heavy, very hands-on for 6 months out of the year or 9 months out of the year, but they really need people in those summer months when they are at their peak season that somebody like a college kid is the perfect fit for. But here is the reframe that I want to offer you guys today, and that's really the whole point of this entire episode. If you can't beat them, and in this case, you probably can't because the draw of college credit plus getting paid plus real work experience and that line on the resume is genuinely compelling. Many students are required to have an internship program in order for them to graduate. Then you can't try to beat them. You've got to join them. And then you do it better than anybody else in your space. So before I get into the specifics of what we built, I want to zoom out for a second because this whole if you can't beat them, build it mindset applies to a lot more than just internship programs. It is one of the most powerful strategic pivots that a business owner can make, in my opinion. Think about a rancher who kept dealing with trespassers wanting to access their land for hunting. Super frustrating, right? So instead of fighting it, instead of posting 100 more no trespassing signs and continuing to call the sheriff, some of them started leasing hunting access. They turned what was a headache into a revenue stream. Then, seeing the headache that managing all of that took for every landowner, guess what? Somebody built a platform that allowed landowners, hunters, and recreationists to connect with one another and ensure that landowners had protections and an easy payment process. And if you've never heard of that platform before, it's called Land Trust. Think about farm families who kept having people stop and ask if they could come see how things worked, if they could buy something direct to bring their kids out. An annoying interruption to the workday until somebody said, wait a minute, what if we built an agritourism experience around this? What if the thing that keeps interrupting us becomes the thing that is able to help sustain us? Think about those small feed and ranch supply stores that watch big box retailers chip away at their product sales year after year after year. They are not going to be able to outprice them. They are not going to be able to out-inventory them, but they can become the place in their community that hosts clinics, the know-how, the relationship, the expertise, the things that a big box store is never, ever going to be able to replicate. In every one of those cases, the business owner looked at something that was beating them and they asked a different question. Not how do I stop this, but how do I make this work for me instead of against me? And that is the mindset. That is exactly one of the reasons that businesses should build internship programs. Now, here's where I want to slow down because I think that most business owners who consider an internship program get stuck on the work that is involved in building one. And yes, I am going to be the first to tell you it's not easy. There is a lot of work that is involved. I'm going to get to all those details. But I don't want you to miss the full picture of what you're actually getting when you build this correctly. Win number one, very, very obvious. You stop losing your seasonal workforce to other programs. Had this company had an internship program, those 4 students that needed to have one in order to graduate would have stayed around. So they wouldn't have lost those people. Instead of being in the you're a seasonal employee this season, they would have then moved into the, oh, you can be part of our internship program this summer. That would have moved them into that bucket and they still would have been able to work at that company. Your business is now a destination for students who are looking for exactly that kind of experience, a very rural, hands-on field work in agriculture, again, for that specific business that we built this program for. You're not competing with internship programs anymore because you have one. Also, I want to keep in mind, it doesn't have to be a summer internship program. Maybe you need to add a workforce, but it's only for a couple of months in the winter. It may be a different problem, but it is the same solution. We see internships available all year round. Obviously, they are most common in the summer, but that does not mean that you have to have one only in the months of May, June, and July. Win number 2, though, is one that gets me really excited because a well-built internship program is the best hiring audition that has ever existed. Think about what a typical hiring process looks like. You post your job, hopefully on Of the West. You get resumes. You do an interview or interviews in this case. You make a decision based on a few hours of interaction with somebody who, let's be honest, is putting their best foot forward the entire time. And then you hire them, you bring them all full time, and you find out who they actually are. Oftentimes that works out really well. And oftentimes it's pretty dang evident that you made the wrong decision and you hired the wrong person. Now let's think about it from the perspective of an internship. You bring on somebody for 10 to 12 weeks usually. You see how they show up every single day, how they handle good days, bad days, how they treat customers. You see how they learn, how they take feedback, constructive criticism. They represent your business in the community. You obviously have a chance to see their work ethic, their attitude, their potential over time in real conditions. That is not an interview. That is basically a 12-week audition. And at the end of it, if you have somebody who is exceptional, you already know it. And the decision to bring them on full time isn't necessarily a leap of faith like it was when you posted your job, especially in an entry-level position. This then becomes a no-brainer. So yes, to solve your summer labor problem, an internship is totally the answer, but you also are able to build yourself a pipeline of young, trained, vetted talent that you have already invested in, people who know your operation, your customers, your standards, your culture, and that is worth so much more than a seasonal hire who walks in the door in May and out the door in August and is never going to come back. Personally, I am the product of an internship program. My college internship was split between 2 different businesses. And at the end of the summer, I had interviewed with one organization for a position that was vacant. And the other organization built a position for me and offered me that role. So for my first job out of college, the only reason that I had that opportunity was because I had been their intern. And clearly they liked what they saw and they liked the work that I did and they liked the way that I represented their members, because if they didn't, they probably would not have built that position and offered it to me at the end of that summer. So let's get into what we actually built. When my friend came and said, yes, let's do this. Will you help us build an internship program? Of course, I said yes. We went to work. And I want to walk you through what a real well-built internship program actually involves, because I think that there is a version of this in people's head that looks like, well, we'll just have a college kid shadow us for the summer. And that is not this. In my opinion, from what I have seen personally, from what I have seen from others, from what I have heard from employers, from what I have heard from interns, this is what I'm basing that knowledge off of. A real internship program has structure. It has learning objectives. It has an evaluation framework of some kind, and it's designed, obviously, to meet the academic requirements of the universities and the colleges that you want to recruit from. Because if it doesn't, students can't get credit for it. And if they can't get credit for it, you're going to lose the most motivated candidates to programs that do offer college credit. So here's what we built for this company. I'm going to give you a high-level view to hopefully give you some ideas of how you can do this for your business, or you can have us do this for your business if that's something that you're interested in. But item number 1, a formal internship program document. So this is the foundation, the document that really explains who you are, what the intern is going to do, what they'll learn, how they will be evaluated, what they will be paid, and what they'll walk away with. It's going to be written to speak to two different audiences simultaneously. So the student who is deciding whether to apply, and then the faculty advisor at that university or college who has to approve it for credit. Both of those people need to see something that looks very legitimate, very structured, and worth their time. The next piece of this is a 12-week phased structure. So we broke the summer into 3 phases. The first phase was onboarding and foundational training. So again, for this specific company, safety protocols, equipment orientation, getting to know the operation, that is going to look a little bit different in something that is an ag business where you are sitting at a desk all day. But for the seed company, the safety protocols, the equipment orientation, that was a very necessary part of that onboarding process. The second phase is supervised field work. So the intern is doing the actual work, but they are with a mentor who is alongside them. And then the third phase is independent work. So a capstone project and professional development. And by the end of week 12, this intern is not going to be somebody who just spent a summer helping out and fetching your coffee. They're somebody who has genuinely developed skills, earned credentials, and can speak to real accomplishments. And not only is that incredible for them because you are equipping them to be able to go out into the workforce and know what they're doing, but again, you are also running this intern through an audition. So if they can successfully complete all 3 of those phases, if they are doing an incredible job at their independent work, that is going to show you that they are absolutely somebody worth retaining in the future if that opportunity arises, whether it's now, 6 months down the road, maybe it's a year down the road, you have an open position and you say, hey, we should go back to so-and-so intern who did an incredible job for us and see if they're looking for a new role. The more you give them to do in a true entry-level working environment, the more you are going to get out of them. So if you have it on your mind that your intern is only going to do your crap tasks and they're going to get you coffee and they're going to organize the storage closet, those are all fine things, but they're not really going to learn much, and you're not going to be able to learn much about them in that environment either. The next piece is learning tasks and learning outcomes. So this is the piece that I think most people don't think about, and it's the piece that really makes or break whether those universities and colleges are going to be able to partner with you. There is a difference between what an intern will do and what an intern is going to be able to demonstrate as a result of doing it. Schools want to be able to see both. So learning tasks are the activities, learning outcomes are the competencies. We wrote both, and then we aligned them to the National Association of Colleges and Employers career readiness standards. So that alignment is what tells a faculty advisor, this internship program is legit. This is absolutely worth giving this student credit for. The next piece is an intern learning agreement. This is a 3-party document that is going to get signed by the intern, the business, aka you, and the faculty advisor before the internship begins. I'm going to say that again, before the internship begins. It is going to outline everybody's responsibilities, the hours, the credit structure, the evaluation components, the terms of agreement. It is going to protect you as the employer. It protects the student, and it gives the university documentation that they need to award credit. Without that, you do not have an internship program, and most colleges are very against retroactively giving credit. So you have to have that intern learning agreement, and it needs to be signed at the beginning of your internship. The next piece is an evaluation framework. So we built out a full evaluation structure for this company, weekly reflection journals, field skilled assessments at multiple points throughout the summer, customer feedback scores because they were going to be working with customers. There was a capstone presentation in the final week. Each component is weighted, so it is just like a college course to a degree, and each one is going to tie back to those learning outcomes that we listed in that document of learning tasks and learning outcomes. So this is not busy work. This is what's going to really turn that summer job into a professional development experience. And it's what gives you, as the employer, real data on how your intern is performing. The last piece that we did in this is university outreach. So once we built this program, I asked this friend, what colleges do you think that you're going to be pulling students from? And she gave me a list of them. Then we did outreach. We contacted career centers, academic departments, faculty advisors to make sure that the program that we built would qualify for credit at those institutions. Again, the majority of these were, I'm not going to say locally, I would say regionally, because again, building a great program and then finding out that it doesn't meet the school's requirements for credit is frustrating, and it is very avoidable, especially from the beginning. So you have to build your internship program to fit, and that is going to require that conversation before students apply, not after. Now, once it's built, you don't have to go through that process ever again. And in theory, you don't have to recreate anything once you've already created what I've mentioned so far. Of course, you are probably going to edit and refine this throughout the years, but once this is built, it is basically ready to go. Of course, you're going to need brand new evaluation frameworks, intern learning agreements, and things like that that are going to be specific for you, the intern and the university that the intern is attending, but none of that stuff has to be rebuilt. I also want to be honest with you in the sense that we didn't just hand this person a finished program and walk away. There was a lot of back and forth. We built something. She would look at it and say, this timeline doesn't work for us. We can't have an intern fully independent by week 7, or, our operation doesn't run this way. We can't do XYZ. We refined it. We make sure that what we built on paper is actually going to reflect what was possible in real life. And that iteration is really part of the process. A program that looks great in a document, but then doesn't match the reality of your business, it is going to fall apart the moment that an intern shows up. The goal is something that is ambitious enough for it to be worth doing and realistic enough for it to actually work for the student, for your operation, for your team. And it also needs to be scalable, right? We built this with the future in mind. So they will have one intern this summer, 2 or 3 the next summer if it goes well. The structure that we created is something that can really grow with them. And I think that that's something that's really important. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. This sounds like a lot. And you're not wrong. It is a real program with real structure, but I want you to step back for a second and remember why we're doing this in the first place. Because it is not just about filling a gap in your summer schedule. It is not just about having an extra set of hands to get the grunt work done. And it is absolutely not about, again, having somebody go fetch your coffee for 12 weeks. The purpose of a great internship program is to hire the future leaders of your company and to equip the future leaders of our industry. That is the purpose. So I'm telling you all of this because I think the internship programs are genuinely underutilized in agriculture and Western businesses. And I think that that is such a missed opportunity, not just for businesses, but again, for those students who are out there right now looking for real, meaningful, field-based experience in this industry. They want to be here. We just need more opportunities for them. So if you are sitting here thinking, okay, I'm sold, but I don't have the time or the bandwidth to build this from scratch, you guys know that you can always come to us. That is exactly what we do here at Of the West. We build internship programs. We write the program documents, the learning agreements, the evaluation frameworks, all the university outreach. We make sure that what you build actually is going to qualify for academic credit, and we make sure that it really fits your operation and your goals. So if that is something that you do want to explore for your business, please reach out. I will make sure that the link to connect with us is in those show notes. But before I close, I just want to come back to where we started because I think the internship program is an example of the lesson that is really your mindset. In ag and Western industries, we are used to doing things the way that they have always been done before. And there is real value in that, in traditions and methods and the wisdom that gets passed down. And I am not knocking on that for a single second, but that landscape is changing. The labor market is changing. The way that young people make decisions about where to spend their time and building their careers is changing. And the businesses that are going to thrive in the next generation are the ones who look at those changes and ask, how do I make this work for me? How do I make this work for our business? Not, how do I fight this? Not, how do I go back to the way it was? But how do I look at what's happening? How do I find the opportunity inside of it? And how do I build something that is going to put us ahead? That is what my friend did when she said yes to building an internship program. She stopped losing ground to something that she could not control, and she built something that turned the exact same force into an advantage for them. Okay, you guys, that is a wrap on today's episode. If this one got your wheels turning, share it with a business owner in your world who's struggling to find and keep good people, because I promise you, This really is a conversation that more of us need to be having. And if you do want to talk about building an internship program for your operation with our help, you guys know where to find us. That link is in our show notes. Of course, please hit subscribe so that you never miss a show. And I will see you back here next week for our last solo episode of July. I can't wait to see you then.
If you loved this episode, do us a favor and share it with someone else who might find just as much value in it as you did. We're on a mission to continue to grow and strengthen the future of agriculture and Western industries, and you spreading the word helps us make more of a positive impact. It also makes a big difference when you take a minute to go rate and review the show. We can't thank you enough for listening, for sharing, and for loving Ag and Western as much as we do. We'll see you back here for our next episode.